Hey, what's up? How's it
Welcome.
going, everybody?
Yeah.
I
This,
am Dick Shake, and I'm
and I'm
joined
Josh.
by Joshy D.
Hello.
How you doing, Joshy D?
I'm doing great. I am really excited for this play-in race for the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament. We should quickly say what this is. This is the end of the preliminary portion of a tournament. It started out with 16 players. There was 4 rounds of Swiss play. These are all of the players who were available tonight who had 2 wins, and they are going to be playing for 4 available spots in the final bracket. Is that correct?
That is correct. There's 4 spots available to progress. So we'll do our best to try and keep an eye on the action and try and show you. We're gonna try and show you a little bit of everybody, but we're also gonna try and make sure we show you people as they finish as well.
So anyone who doesn't get one of the final 4 finishes, they are going home out of the tournament.
That's correct. Yes.
So they're playing for their tournament life, and so there's a lot on the line. Like, the tournament has been going on for a few weeks now, so we are all deeply invested in this thing, and no one wants to be in such a high profile race and not get one of these spots. So
Well,
they're all
the
play their best.
countdown has started, so we should be up and running here momentarily.
So we have Unos, who is, I believe, number 2 on the SRL rankings for Zelda 2 Randomizer generally. Shiner CCC, Ryan 7, and Angry Larry on the screen right now. Everyone is taking a left out of the palace, and we're going.
Yeah, so what are we looking for here, Joshy D?
Well, on the west continent, which this is the western continent of Hyrule, later on we'll be going over to the east continent, we are looking for 5 different caves to find items in, and holy cow, we already have people finding the hammer cave in Death Mountain, which we're not even ready to talk about Death Mountain yet.
Yeah, that is pretty unusual for one of these races. It just must be right inside the door there.
Man, so on the overworld of Hyrule, this is obviously not what people are familiar with vanilla Zelda 2 as we know it. The overworld has been rebuilt by the randomizer, and the 4 towns will still be on Western Hyrule, but they'll be in different locations and contain different spells. We have 5 caves: the Trophy, Magic, Medicine, Heart Cave, and a Pea Bag Cave. Each of those will have a large item inside them. And so people are going to be just frantically looking for some of these items to get them the things that they need to start exploring palaces.
Yep. And I think we've already seen one palace, if I'm remembering correctly. I saw a Great Palace flash on the screen there momentarily. So
that's a major change from vanilla Zelda 2. There are still 3 palaces on this continent, but they will not necessarily be the same palaces 1, 2, and 3 that people found in vanilla. We should mention the Trophy Cave had a magic container in it, which is one of the things that we'll be collecting throughout the game. That is the bar of magic up at the top of the screen. You can see you start with 4 containers, and then one of our players, Unos, got a 5th. Each one of those is worth 16 magic points, which are used to cast the spells, which when someone goes into their spell menu, you'll see a cost for how much the spell is. So that's how you can determine how much magic you have and if you can afford to cast the spells that you're casting.
yeah, and we've got a couple item pickups here. We saw a heart container and hammer cave, so all that time, maybe not super worth it. But then the boots on the grass tile there for Angry Larry, so that is a great early pickup.
Yeah, the boots in Vanilla Zelda 2 would let you find one of the palaces that was hidden out in the ocean. It allowed you to walk on very specific tiles of water. Here in the randomizer, the boots have been buffed and will let you walk on any water that is within the bounds of the map.
Yes, that is correct. Which you will see these runners taking very big advantage of. It's a great way of getting around these randomized overworld maps.
Yeah, a moment ago on Unos' screen, we saw that there was a river running horizontally across the map. If you did not have the boots, that would be a major obstacle. You'd have to find another way around. But once you have the boots, you can just walk wherever you please.
Yep.
Well, except over the mountains.
You see Unos picking up those boots right there.
Yeah.
So we're still on the hunt for towns. I don't think we've seen a single town just yet.
No, but we do have a raft sighting. So the little port there at the edge of the water will let people use the raft item to head over to Eastern Hyrule. where there's a whole bunch more towns and more palaces. But right now we're focusing on Western Hyrule. Yunos did find Rauru, which is a town where you can get a free spell in it. What we mean by a free spell is there's a sage in a basement here that you can just walk in and gain access to the basement and get a spell. Two other towns, Ruto and Mido, you will have to bring an item to get access to the sage in the basement.
Yes, that is correct. And there's another town, actually, Darunia, on the eastern continent that has a spell item required, and those can be pretty pesky to find sometimes, especially if they're blocking required spells to beat the game, like Thunder or Reflect, which appears to be one of the spells that runners are finding here, according to the tracker. Oh, that's what they just got.
Yeah, we found that in Rauru. So that is one of the required spells to beat the game. There is a boss of Palace 4 named Karok, who is a Wizrobe, and you must reflect his magic beams back upon him. And so there's no other way to beat that boss. So one of the things that would be stopping people from going to Great Palace and rescuing Zelda is the reflect spell. The other required spell is Thunder, which is necessary to make the boss Thunderbird vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. And then the third, maybe sort of semi-required, definitely nice to have spell is the fairy spell, which is going to let you get through locked doors in palaces, and also just generally useful from a defensive and transportation standpoint.
Yeah, it's one of the ways that you can get the downstab technique, which I think is the most useful fighting technique in the game. In the town of Mido, there is a soldier, and you can't get into his building unless you have the jump or fairy spell. So usually when people find either of those two, they will be making their way to Mido or Mido, as some people are saying in the chat. They're making their way there to get that downstab technique, because it definitely helps you stay safe.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so we found Magic Container Cave and P-Bag Cave, although we are being moved elsewhere. Looks like we've also got Palace 1, and we have, I don't know if that was 2 or 5.
Well, we have Raikou Rider going right into Palace 1. Palace 1 has enough keys laying around that this is a pretty safe palace to go into. So there's doors in these palaces, and the only way to get through them is to find keys inside the palaces to open the locked doors, or to use the fairy spell to go through it. And the nice thing about one of the settings of the randomizer, at least at this stage of the tournament, is that there's more keys than would ordinarily be found in these palaces. So this is usually you don't want to go into a palace unless you have a way to deal with locked doors. This is one of the palaces that is pretty safe to go into. You see one of these locked doors right here on Raikou's screen.
Yeah, it is kind of a gamble. You're not guaranteed to be able to get through here, but it's a relatively safe gamble, I suppose.
Yeah, there were some left turns that he didn't take, and there's probably some way to get through there, but he's just dipping back out of here. He's going to come back when he has some way to get through those doors, I think.
So, Amazing Ampharos is in this Magic Container Cave right now. I know other people have been in this cave, but I have not seen what this item is yet, so I want to make sure to spot it. It's just a heart container.
Yeah, heart containers are things that are definitely good to have. I don't think any of these players would want to try to complete the game without having 5 or 6 containers of each life and magic. But it's not something that you necessarily need right now, when really what you're looking for is the raft to go over to the eastern continent, the glove, which helps you break blocks, which is necessary to get through some of these palaces. The magic key would be a really good find. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that are just a little bit higher on the priorities list. You see some kind of nasty encounters that we got, especially on Raikou's side right now. He would be certainly happy to get an extra heart container if he could.
Yeah. And Amazing Ampharos does find the raft. It's actually in P-Bag Cave, so that's why we see a lot of players with the raft marked on the tracker there. See
so
what's
that's
in this. Yeah, go ahead.
So something new in this version of the randomizer is that it's not just the traditional item locations, and we have Medicine Cave is giving us the hammer. It's not just the traditional item locations that have major items. The P-Bag Caves, 2 in the east, 1 in the west, can also have those key items, what we call large items in the community, or they could still have P-Bags. So those have been shuffled, and also the items that used to only be found on the overworld can now be found inside palaces, and so those are all shuffled amongst each other too. So basically anything can be found anywhere, and it's just a mad dash to explore as much of the map as you can and get some of these items.
Yes, that's correct. So we can see that the jump spell is located in Saria, which is actually a pretty good find. Not going to help them with palaces so much, but will allow them to get downstab, which I imagine we'll see some of these runners.
Well,
picking
Amazing
up here
Ampharos
along
is
the way.
finding the most important thing in the whole game is Bagu. He's found the hut in the woods, which will let him get through Saria. There's two ends of the town of Saria, and if you know Bagu, the riverman will let down a drawbridge and let you cross. I'm sorry, I stepped on you. There was just a very exciting moment.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. That was something very important to draw attention to.
So we did just see the town of Mido. If someone had the jump or fairy spell, they could go in there and get that downstab. We know that one of our players has it at least.
Yeah, I would assume at least a few of these runners have jump. Unfortunately, jump is not on the tracker, so that's not something that we're going to be seeing easily show up. But
yeah, if you're looking at the tracker on the left side of the screen, there is a boot, and that means you have the boots that can walk on water. It is not the jump spell, which is sometimes represented on trackers as a boot.
yeah, and basically, you know, of course, for space constraints, we did not put every single item and spell on that tracker. We only put items and spells that are required to beat this game. Although I guess technically the boots may not be required, but still a very good item to have.
So since we're seeing a lot of these action screens with combat, Digshake, would you like to talk about how the enemies are randomized in this game?
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, there's 3 general categories of enemies: large enemies, small enemies, and then flying enemies. And I always forget the 4th category of enemies, which is the ones that automatically regenerate, like the skull heads and the red polar bear heads and things of the like. So when enemies get shuffled around, they can only be replaced by enemies of the same group. So large can only be replaced by large, and small can only be replaced by small under these settings. That will change once we get into the bracket round.
So I do want to say that Unos has found the magic key. So the magic key is available on Western Hyrule, which is really going to crack this game open. Once you have a way to get through locked doors, a lot more of the palaces become viable options for exploration. The glove would make everything basically available, but the magic key is definitely going to help.
Yeah, the magic key is really huge for sure. There is a hammer blocked cave. Is that where the magic key is?
Could have been. Some people have found the hammer on Western Hyrule. The hammer will break boulders. In the randomizer, at least in these settings, 0 to 3 caves can be blocked by boulders. Any cave that is blocked will have an item in it?
It's 0 to 2, and yes, any cave that's blocked will have an item in it. It could be a pea bag, but it'll have something in it.
And there can also be boulders just like chilling in the middle of a road, which will impede your progress. And there is a very important boulder on Death Mountain called Spectacle Rock. And if you crack that one open, there is an item hidden in there. Although Death Mountain is a large series of caves, which can take up to 10 minutes sometimes to explore. You really don't want to be going in there unless you know there's something that you need to find. But that is where an item could be hidden.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And so I just saw Jake Coper grab jump there. I bet we'll see him beeline towards Mido here, as Amazing Ampharos is currently doing to grab that all-important downstab. Why is downstab so important, Joshy D?
Well, I think it's important because when you're doing combat, if you press down, if you jump and press down, you're going to stab your sword between your legs, and you can kind of pogo over enemies, or you can do damage to enemies. But in either case, it's a way to kind of help you jump and get over enemies. Or, you know, if you want to, you can kill them easier. It's also important in palaces for being able to dig through blocks that are impeding your progress if you have the glove. So there's 2 really good reasons to have downstab, especially when you go over to the East Continent, there's very strong enemies, and oftentimes your best bet is to just avoid them, because people are going to be going into palaces to do what we call up A, which is to press pause on player 1 controller and then up and A on the player 2 controller, which will initiate a game over. And if you're inside a palace, you will respawn at that palace. So it's a great way to get your lives back, especially when you're out in the wild. You can just pop into a palace, get your lives back, but that will lose all of your experience. So oftentimes you don't really want to be killing stuff if you know you're going to be up-Aing.
Yeah. Weasel. Oh, thank you. Weasel97 in chat says he wants to see where you have to go through Death Mountain to reach the other half. Be careful what you wish for there, buddy. It can, and I believe has happened.
That's a very cruel seed that requires you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's questions that people have, if you're new to the randomizer, if you're new to Zelda 2 and you have some questions, there's a lot of people in chat who can help you out. We can also try to explain some stuff. There's just a whole lot of stuff to cover right now, so we'll be going over game mechanics as we go through the game as it seems relevant, and also trying to track what's going on. And Jesus, we have on Cool in the Gang side a encounter with 2 orange Dairas, which are strong enemies. They're not as difficult as their red counterparts, but you can see him making great use of that downstab technique, how he's just pogoing on the head of this moblin here. He's also seeming to employ a technique called the jackhammer, where if you're in a when you downstab, as long as you're pressing down, your sword is flashing. There's no recovery on that, so if you mash it really fast, you can just continually stab on every frame. I guess every other frame, because you do have a 1 frame off. But it's a way that you can really increase your hits on enemies, or you can just hold down and you'll pogo on top of them. But you can see people using kind of a combination of knocking the controller left and right to get more stabs going. And someone is here farming at a Genos. He's farming these drippers. Digshik, why don't you explain what these drippers do?
Yeah, so the drippers normally drop bots, but that's not very fun. So the randomizer will randomly pick a different enemy to replace those drippers with. And in this seed, it appears to have chosen Magos, and they're worth 100 points apiece. So you'll often see people stop and find a juicy grind spot like this one and just go to town and rack up a few levels. I have feelings on that matter that maybe I won't say out loud right now, but
yeah, I think 100 points is about the cutoff of where you would really want to invest the time to do this, because you do have to wait for the dripper to spawn, because it's kind of random when it's going to actually spawn one of those enemies. And then also with these Magos that are the dripper enemy in this seed, they kind of vanish in and out of existence, so you have to wait for them to become visible and vulnerable again. So it's a little bit it's a little bit of a time sink to do it, but 100 points is 100 points at the beginning of the game, and people are going to want to be getting their levels up as fast as they can.
Oh, yeah. And so, we do see runners with that magic key hopping into Palace 1 and Palace 2 right now, which is a fantastic idea. And looks like we see people going to the left in both palaces, which means they're looking for the item. Basically, in palaces 1, 2, and 5, the item you'll find by walking to the left. In palaces 3, 4, and 6, you'll find the item going to the right. And so it's kind of an important piece of information to know if you're going to play the randomizer, or even just watch somebody play the randomizer, is what's their intent right now? Are they trying to beat the level and get out of here, or are they trying to dig out one of those precious items?
Yeah, so a lot of times people will not want to look for the item in Palaces 2 and 5, because the item is found by exploring to the left. And oh man, we're seeing the actual problem of having Dripper spawn a whole bunch of Magos. Genos is dealing with a ton of fire, and that does a lot of damage. Even though the HP on the Dripper enemies is set to bot HP, which means that you can kill the enemies in only 1 or 2 hits, they still do the same amount of damage that they ordinarily would do, and that fire hurts like crazy.
Well, that's not the item that Rose City Saint was hoping to find there in Palace 1. He got the horn, maybe mildly useful, but generally considered sort of a junk item, since all it can really do is get rid of River Devil on the Eastern Continent that might not even be guarding anything.
Yeah, oftentimes not guarding anything, but it's kind of lucky that Rose City Saint found a junk item in Palace 1, which is the smallest of all the palaces. So if you're going to invest some time into exploring Palace 1 is where you would go looking for an item. Palace 2, since it's found in the opposite direction of the palace's boss, is a little bit more of an investment, although it's not the biggest palace in the world. Usually palaces 3 and 4 are pretty good for looking for the item, because you can just take all the right turns you want, and maybe you'll find the item, maybe you'll find the boss, but it's a little bit safer of a way to go digging for items. 5 is probably the worst.
Yep, and we see runners starting to place gems. You can see on the tracker several runners are starting to finish up Palace 1 here. We've not seen anybody finish up Palace 2. In fact, Adagino's left Palace 2. I wonder if it's glove blocked. I'm not entirely sure, but it's certainly possible that he needs the glove to complete that palace.
Well, maybe we should take a moment to explain what is so important when you place a gem in these palaces. If you look at the top of the screen in the top right, there's the word next, which shows the player's current experience compared to how much experience they need to buy their next level, whether it's a life level, magic level, or attack level, which you can see at the top of the screen. When you place a gem in a palace statue after beating the boss, it will give you enough XP to buy the next level that you can't currently afford. So oftentimes what people will do is keep their magic and life levels below or at level 3, which means that they can easily exceed those levels required experience, and then be able to use the palace gems to buy a very expensive attack level, because those always cost more than magic or life.
Mm-hmm.
A way to kind of power level by exploiting things.
The alternative approach is to just take every single level that you get whenever it comes, and I'm sure at least a few of the runners in this race are employing that strategy.
Yeah, both can be very effective. Usually if you're buying your levels as you get them, you top out at about attack 6, but really towards the end of the game, combat is a little bit less important, and you'll just be trying to clear palaces as fast as possible. At that point, really the only thing that you're going to need your attack levels for is making the Thunderbird fight go a little bit faster. But anyone who is doing the technique of just taking levels as they come is probably an experienced player and going to have no trouble killing Thunderbird even at a low attack level.
Yeah, so this is big news. Link 7's just found Thunder in the town of Mido. So Thunder is blocked by the medicine, which was found on Spectacle Rock. But that, of course, is a very much required spell to beat this game, and I'm sure he's very happy to have found it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that players can do to try to gain an advantage in a race, is to sink some time into exploring Death Mountain, which can take a long time, and most players will avoid like crazy. If a required item to get one of the required spells is in Death Mountain and you go looking for it first, people can spend the rest of the game exploring every nook and cranny of the game, trying to find that important item without going to Death Mountain, because that's the last place you would really want to go. But if you already have the things that you need, which is the Thunder spell, and the Reflect spell, and the Club, then you can stop looking for items in palaces and only go looking if you just happen to want a magic container or something.
Yeah, that's very true.
So really, that could be this could be key to Link getting ahead of the game.
Certainly. Although we just saw Rose City Saint pick it up as well. So a couple runners taking the time to go into Death Mountain and find Spectral Rock, and it is paying off.
Yeah, I guess the reason why so many people are going into Death Mountain right now is we have the boots and we have the hammer, which means that you can get 2 items inside Death Mountain instead of just 1. And with the boots, exploring Death Mountain is really a lot easier, because you can go outside of Death Mountain and run on the ocean and explore a few more caves. So really, if there was a seed to do it, this is the one.
Yeah. And a lot of runners heading east now, it looks like, taking that raft and heading on over. In fact, there's the water tile on Cool and the Gang's side. Just another heart container, so still not finding that glove that I'm sure is what people really want to find.
Well, there's a number of places where you can find the glove on the East Continent. There is the water tile, where we just found, I believe, a heart container. There's 2 more caves which have items. There is Maze Island, which has 2 items on it, and then there's 3 more palaces where you can find items. There's also the town of New Kasuto, which if you have the spell, you can find another item in there. And if you have enough magic containers to satisfy the lady in New Kasuto, there's yet 1 more item. So there's a whole lot of items to find. There's also the desert tile, I'm sorry. There's a whole lot of items that you can find just laying around on the East Continent. So a lot of people, when they get the ability to use the raft and a couple levels because it's kind of dangerous over here, you'll see him heading over the east continent just to pick up some of those items and also take advantage of the great number of high value point bags, which are just littering the overworld.
Yep, and here's one of those. Here's one of the. Well, we're about to swap over, but that's okay. You can see one of those item caves on Cool and the Gang's stream right now. And there was a desert tile on Adaginos' side. It looked like it was just a pea bag, if I saw that correctly. We'll probably see it pop up again here momentarily, since it looks like a lot of these other runners are also on the eastern continent.
Well, and Shiner is on Maze Island. So Maze Island is an interesting place. It's a large amount of roads, which luckily you don't get random encounters on. But on these roads are invisible trap encounters, as we call them. And if you step on them, you'll be forced to go into a combat scene and do combat. Now, you can also fall into one of two pits, which those two pits have items inside them. So this is a place where, for a minimal amount of time investment, you can just walk around, set foot on every bit of these roads, and look for these two items. There's also a palace, which is randomized. It's ordinarily Palace 4 in vanilla, and it can be any of the palaces right now. Usually, if you're on Maze Island anyway and have the ability to beat the palace, you'll want to do it because it takes a little bit of time to get back out here.
Yeah. That's just a magic container in the pea bag cave, so let's see if we can spot what these items on Maze Island are. Kind of running out of spots for this glove to be at this point.
Yeah, I did not see. Oh, okay, we're about to see on Angry Larry's screen what the item in this pea bag cave is. Did you say it was
a magic container? Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, that could be something that'll get you a spell in New Kasuto. It's also something that if people are keeping their magic levels low, will help them cast the magic spells that they need to. So the way magic works in this game is, as we said earlier, each of these boxes is worth 16 magic points. And as you level up your magic stat, it decreases the cost of the spells in a non-linear way. Maybe you could explain a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, so each spell can go up or down by, I think, 50% of its normal cost in the vanilla game, but it will always go down or stay the same. It'll never go up. So if you roll something for a level and it ends up being very expensive, but it's already cost less than that, then it will just remain its current cost.
And the kind of funky thing is that in vanilla, the magic spells, it was just a table of costs that the developers just decided at this particular level, this spell will cost so much. It didn't really make sense of what the values were. So everything, it seems a little bit crazy. It's not like when you take a magic level, everything goes down by 10%.
Right. I have not seen any of the two items on Maze Island yet. It's possible that I just wasn't looking at the right time, but
I saw Shiner pick up something, but I don't remember what it was. I'm looking at the tracker, and I don't think we have that as an item location, so I really don't know.
Here's one on Angry Larry's in the bottom right here.
Good old Larry, he knew that we were looking for something.
This is where the kid would normally be.
Yeah, this Blue Lizalfos would have been the kidnapper. Oh, this could be, well, probably not too interesting. It's the trophy, which is the item that's required to get a spell out of the town of Ruto. And we don't know what that spell is. I don't think anyone's gone back to fetch it. It's probably not something required, although it could be the fire spell, which would let... possibly it might give an alternative way to cast one of the two required spells in the game. Dickshake, would you like to explain how that works?
Yeah, so, fire is not considered the most useful spell. Here's the second item, actually, real quick, on Shiner's side and Brian's side. It's the cross. But anyhow, fire is not considered the most useful spell, so to mix it up a little bit, I decided to randomly pair it with one of the other 7 spells. And you don't know which one it is until you pick it up and try it out and see what happens. So could be Thunder, could be Shield, could be Life.
One of the really fun things about fire being bundled with another spell is that fire is one of the spells that at high magic levels gets very, very inexpensive. So if it happens to be Thunder, which is ordinarily a spell that would cost like 64 magic, you could have a Thunder that costs less than 10 magic, and that makes the game incredibly fun because you just get to spam a high attack level spell or cast Fairy a whole bunch of times if that happens to be the spell that it's bundled with. Really adds some interesting variation to how you could play the game if you happen to get a useful spell bundled with fire.
And so almost everybody's on Maze Island right now.
It's
Looks
the
like
place to
Shiner
be.
left. What else are we looking for? We're looking for a couple palaces. We're looking for towns, probably, especially if they have not found fire yet, or I'm sorry, if they've not found thunder yet, which none of these runners have.
Yeah, only 2 people so far, Link Sevens and Rose City Saint, are lucky enough to have found the Thunder spell. Everyone else is going to be thinking that they really do need to find some more spell items in towns. Did you happen to see what palace we have on Maze Island? No one has been tempted to go in there, so I'm assuming it's Palace 3 or 6.
I've seen Palace 3 or 6, but stuff is happening so fast that I do not remember
It is a little
where.
difficult to track everything that's going on. But the reason why 3 or 6 would be an undesirable palace is that it's a very high chance that you will be blocked in those palaces because there's a lot of so Ryan is hopping into 3 or 6. You can tell by the style of the pillars in front of this palace what kind of palace it is. So 3 or 6 has these ribbed pillars out in front, and it has a iron knuckle statue that 50% of the time will drop a red jar, and 50% of the time will turn into an iron knuckle that'll try to kill you. If you don't have the glove, it's very easy to get blocked in this palace, which is why people tend to avoid it until they have the glove. There's these blocks that you can see, you could see them a moment ago, that if you stab them with your sword, they'll crumble and let you through. But that's one of the main items that we're looking for right now is the glove, because it really is needed to beat the game.
And this is Palace 6, so if you're gonna find one, either 3 or 6, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about 6. It can be very difficult, but I think might have less of a chance of being blocked than Palace 3 does. So.
Well, we have the item room, so Ryan made a pretty good gamble going in here. If this is an important item, in particular if this is the glove, like I said, a lot of players are not gonna decide to just pop into 6 and start looking for the item.
Yeah, that's
this
very
could
true.
be a gamble that pays off.
Oh, glove is in a P-bag cave. Who's picked it
Oh,
up?
no way.
Amazing
Okay.
Ampharos has picked it up. He seems to be the only one at this current moment, so.
Okay, so this is probably not something critical, but still, finding an item in a palace is good. It looks like Ryan took a death against this Rebenak. He's standing in a position where he's trying to get a cool, like a cheese kill or a quick kill, however you want to put it, on Rebenak. If you stab him and get him in the corner, you can just pogo on his head. It only works on the left side of the screen. It's kind of a particular setup to get it, but it makes him very easy to kill and very quick. There are alternate ways to kill him, but it's kind of dangerous because he's basically just a buffed blue iron knuckle, which is already one of the more difficult enemies in the game. And here you can see that pogo technique working in the corner, making quick work of Rebenak.
Yep.
Rebenak is also the boss of Palace 3, and there's just 2 refights here in Palace 6. Sorry, go ahead, Dick Shake.
I was just going to point out the Valley of Death is, on Angry Larry's screen. That's got to be Palace 4, I think, is the only one that we haven't actually seen yet. So we have found most things. We've certainly found everything required to beat this game, since we know where the glove is now.
Yeah, only one person has put it. No one has actually put it all together yet, because the only person who has the glove is Amazing Ampharos, and he does not have the Thunder spell yet. So no one is ready to beat this game yet.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of time to go. We're only 31 minutes into this game. A kind of average time to beat a Zelda 2 randomizer with these flags is somewhere between 70 minutes to 90 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, I think these runners especially are certainly capable of finishing in under 90 minutes, the majority of them. All right.
If people don't know, I guess we should talk about the tournament a little bit, because who are these players who are in this tournament? These are players who have 2 wins in the Swiss phase of the tournament. People who had 3 or more wins out of the Swiss phase are already seeded into a 16-person single elimination bracket that play, which will start next week. These players each have 2 wins and are trying to get into that bracket. People who had 1 win are already out of the tournament.
Yep. And you know, the way it works out after tonight's race, we'll actually be down to 16 out of 36, so less than half of the runners will have unfortunately been eliminated, and it'll be single elimination until we get to the final four when it becomes best out of 3.
Oh, we had people claiming that players were ready to beat the game, a term that we call full dig shake, but that is actually not true. Jay Coper has found the glove, but he does not have the Thunder Spell. So it's very interesting how through exploration, some people are finding critical items that other people don't have, but no one has yet been able to put the whole puzzle together.
Yeah, it's getting close. I mean, we're going to see people start to take off really soon here.
Yeah, it's interesting that the first half of a randomizer seed is really just running around, grabbing some levels, grabbing some items, and sort of figuring out what kind of seed you're dealing with. We call it seed because there's each time you use the randomizer, you put in a bunch of random numbers, which the randomizer uses to create to base the randomization off of. And you kind of don't know what you're really looking for until you find some things and find out what you don't have. And so it's usually about 30-40 minutes in, people kind of have started to find all of the items that they need, or they realize that they have to start digging really deep to beat the game. And then things move very, very quickly with people just knocking out palaces. So really, it's not like each gem, as we see on the tracker, it's not like each gem takes about 10 minutes. Generally, it's the first gem usually takes about 40 minutes to get, and then everything else happens in a very quick succession.
Yeah. So let's see. Jay Coper just grabbed. I actually missed what spell he grabbed. It must be either shield or life that he just grabbed there out of Ruto. And really the question for this seed, right, is going to be how long is it going to take people to go to Death Mountain and grab that medicine out? You could imagine them taking their time finding all of the other towns first, all of the other spells before thinking about that, and probably trying to clear out a lot of the other item locations too before going back to Death Mountain.
It's kind of interesting that you would kind of expect that players who aren't at the very top of the rankings of Zelda 2 Randomizer, that they would be the ones that find the Thunder Spell first, because they're the people who are most likely to not follow the fastest accepted meta of getting through the game. The people who really don't spend a lot of time looking for items, and they're just trying to go through the game with the bare minimum. Someone like someone who is looking for a few more heart containers might be more interested to go into Death Mountain, or they might think that Death Mountain is a way for them to kind of get advantage on stronger players by finding something important early. Link Sevens has the now he is full dig shake. Link Sevens is the first person to find everything required to beat the game right now.
Yep, and so he's gonna stop whatever the heck it is he was doing and just go knock out palaces as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah, with the caliber of players that we have in this particular race, and with so much on the line, I bet that people are going to try to beat the game with even less supplies than they might ordinarily do. Oh, Amazing Ampharos is showing off the Fairy Claws technique, which is a way of getting into this chimney to get the upstab technique, something that is not necessarily required to beat the game, but certainly can make some things easier. What happens is when you cast the fairy spell, the game remembers what the state of Link was when the spell was cast. So if you're standing, you're considered standing as you're moving around as a fairy, which will let you go into a normal door by pushing up. And if you're crouching, you're considered crouching, which is how the fairy can actually go down the chimney. Ordinarily, if you cast the fairy spell standing up, you would not be able to go down the chimney.
Yeah. And so it looks like the only other person to place a gem other than Palace 1 right now is Amazing Ampharos, who has cleared out 5, which is actually kind of a surprising palace to see cleared out this early. I wonder if it was a quick Guma find. Palace 5 is a very large palace. The only one that is... I'm sorry, the only one larger than it is Great Palace, so...
It's humongous, but it is one of the palaces that if you didn't have the glove, that you would be able to complete. I suspect that he had it when he went in there. It's I mean, I think AA is one of the kinds of people who, if he's at a palace and thinks he can beat it, he's not gonna just like come back later. It does take a little bit of bravery in your fighting technique, because Guma, the boss of Palace 5, can hit for a whole lot of damage, and so if you're running in there with pretty low life, you're at a lot of risk of game overing. So it's a bold move, taking on Palace 5 early for a number of reasons.
Yeah, but if you can pull it off like he has, definitely feels good to have it out of the way, no doubt.
Yeah, sometimes people make a calculation of whether or not they're going to beat a palace based on how close it is to the starting palace, how close it is to maybe the raft. If you find a palace in the far off outskirts of Hyrule, you may not ever want to go back out there, and you want to take care of it right then and there. Mm-hmm. It's also very easy to lose palaces. This is a randomizer, so it's not like we're familiar with all of the locations of towns and items and palaces. People do some mapping, but you very often see people spending a lot of time wandering around lost, trying to find a town that they already found before, trying to find a palace that they already found before. We're getting cheers for Rose City Saint. What happened?
Yeah, he just found the fairy spell, so that's all he really needs to start clearing out these palaces himself. He's got the thunder spell, he's got all the other stuff, so he's in the same situation as Link 7's right now, getting ready to clear these palaces.
So Rose City Saints, I don't want to take anything away from Rose City Saints, but I don't think he was one of the names that we were thinking of as very, very likely to come out on top of this thing. Jake Hoper and Unos, for instance, are very strong players, ranked very highly on the SRL rankings. So it's very exciting to see Rose City Saint being, quote, full dig shake and ready to go take on the rest of the game.
I agree with you that he is probably a bit of an underdog, but I'm not super surprised to see him where he's at right now. He is a good player, and he picked this game up very quickly. So,
But if you were to go to the leaderboard, that's one of the ways that we can kind of try to make a determination on who's a favorite. But the thing is that, because of the random aspect of it, it's hard to pick out favorites. Every seed is different, and one choice left or right in Great Palace can make all the difference in a race. It can really come down to something like that.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And on these flags in particular, I think making a costly mistake, you may not be able to recover, especially when you've got this many people in this race.
Yeah, that puts a lot of pressure on it, because in a 3-player race, it's less likely that someone's just going to come in and snipe you at the same time. When you've got 11 people in a race, you can't waste any time at all. You have to consider that just basically think in your head that everyone is ahead of you, and that's a lot of enemies ahead of you.
Especially when you consider how fast this seed has been. We've seen seeds take between 90 minutes and 2 hours, or maybe even longer for some players, and this seed is not going to be that at all.
Yeah, none of the required items, except for maybe the Thunder Spell, was out of the way at all. They were all in places where people would ordinarily look, and most of them actually were on the West Continent. So people had almost everything they needed by the time they went east.
Mm-hmm. And so you see people shifting gears right now, as you see that 3 of our 4 current runners are inside the palaces. Yeah. And that's sort of what happens with these seeds, is you try and collect what you can on the overworld, and then once you got what you need, or most of what you need, then you just dive in, start clearing out these palaces as fast as you can.
Link 7's was in a disgusting room with one of those Doom Rattlers and 2 blue Iron Knuckles. It's one of the things that the randomizer does, is it pairs up enemies that are ordinarily not allowed to be in the same room with each other, just because it would make things much too difficult. The randomizer doesn't care how difficult the room gets. And when you have projectiles coming horizontally and arcing, it's just a mess. But hey, good job getting through that room. I feel that we should say very quickly, if you look at Rose City Saint's screen, when he has the beam sword, which is a beam that comes out of the end of your sword if you have max health, his is a Doom Knocker hammer or an axe. I can't remember which it is. And that's just a setting on the randomizer that changes the sprite of the beam. It doesn't give him any advantage at all over people who have the traditional beam. So if it looked kind of weird, it's not like he got some super buff.
Yeah, I put that in just for you, Joshy D.
I really appreciate that, but I was asking for the beams to have the same power as the ones that the enemies throw at you, not for it to just look different.
Yeah. I know what you meant, but I still did it for you.
I appreciate it very much, Dig Shake. So Link Sevens is he's placing a gem at the end of the palace. He did not get a ton of experience off it. It looks like he's banking that experience to hopefully gain a more valuable level later. It's what we talked about earlier. If people were going to be using gems to maximize the experience output from them by manipulating their levels, I don't think anyone really has time for that right now. I mean, yeah, people are just taking levels as they come. Rose City Saint only just now got attack 4.
Yeah. Well, we might see him prioritize palaces in such a way. 5 in particular. You definitely like having some higher attack for Guma. But we'll see. I mean, so the bare minimum attack considered, comfortable for this is attack 6 or maybe even attack 5 for some of these players. So we're already getting close to that point, at which point levels become less important. Although a lot of it just boils down to how comfortable are you as a Zelda 2 player? Can you finish a game with less than attack 6 or with less than life 7, for example?
Yeah, everyone will kind of choose their leveling strategies based on how comfortable they are with late game combat, especially. And I would not be going into Great Palace with less than 5 heart containers and hopefully life 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really different for everyone.
Yep. And we see our gem counts really starting to go up here. Jake Hoper has 3 gems placed. Looks like Yunos just placed another gem. Interestingly, he has the Thunder Spell, but not the glove. I'm not sure. Or the Fairy Spell, so I'm not sure what happened there, but still continuing to do palaces anyhow. And yeah, we're going to see these gem counts go up pretty quickly here, I imagine.
Yeah, so looking at some of our players, it looks like everyone is stopping their life levels at level 4, which is kind of the upper limit of what people can take if they are going to be trying to exploit the palace gems. So if you see someone with only a couple gems in and they have life 6, for instance, you know that they're just taking levels as they come. Mm-hmm. Because once you start getting that high, there's no way that you're going to be able to get over the point threshold to be able to crush a gem and get an attack level out of it.
There goes Rebenak for Link 7, so that's going to be his 3rd gem place, bringing him into tied for gems with Jay Coper, but in the lead with that all-important Thunder Spell. I think he's probably definitively in the lead right now. Maybe AA is the only. Well, he doesn't have the Thunder Spell either, so.
Yeah, so it is kind of difficult to tell who's in the lead in a randomizer, but when you have all of the required items and you have more, when you have 3 gems and the other person who has 3 gems doesn't have all the required items, you can safely say that you're in the lead. Mm-hmm. But that can change so fast because if for some reason Link 7 just has a difficult palace that, let's say, Jay Coper was fast at navigating in, and then he uses that time to go back and get the Thunder Spell, it can flip-flop really quickly. Things can definitely change a Great Palace. So there's no safe lead in this game. And someone did ask in chat, there is no longer the requirement in Old Kasuto to have 8 magic containers to be able to get the spell out of there. All of those kinds of requirements, except for the lady who asked for containers to get an item, have been removed from the game.
Mm-hmm. That is an option on the randomizer. You can choose to leave those requirements in if you so choose. In fact, we'll be seeing that later on in this very tournament.
Oh, that sucks.
You're not looking forward to that, Joshie G?
No, so I guess what just as a way of explaining what we're talking about, when people pull up their spells list, you can see that Reflect is the #1 spell, because Reflect is the spell that you got out of Hyrule, which is the first spell that you would get in vanilla. So by looking at the order of the spells as they're listed on your spell book, you know what item you got from what town. Now, ordinarily, you can only get a spell if you have as many containers as its place on that list. So if you have 4 magic containers, which you start the game with, you can get the first 4 spells that the game would ordinarily give you. And in order to get the 5th spell, you would need a 5th magic container. So that is not in play in this settings, but it looks like later on we'll be going to the vanilla method of picking up your spells. Ooh, we have a Barba fight. Barba is maybe my favorite boss to fight in this game, even though I'm really terrible at this fight. This dragon is popping out of the lava, and you have to stab him in the head. And there's a great number of ways to fight this boss, and I think that's why I like it so much. Is you can really see the style differences, and players get very creative, either using upstab techniques, jackhammer techniques, really safe techniques, jump strats. There's so many ways to fight this boss. It's always fun to see.
Yeah, Jake Hopper played it pretty straight there, which, you know, honestly, that's how I fight Barba too. I don't mess around with Barba either. Unos also is got everything he needs, so he's also going to be considered a front runner at this point. He's also completed Palaces 1 and 4, and will be
the only player to complete 4.
Yeah, so far. And so he's just going to be mowing down palaces, and oh my gosh, he's so good at combat. So look out, he's going to start tearing through this seed.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that kind of happens is that you can get an items and materials lead on your opponent, but palaces is where combat really comes into play. So someone could spend much longer in a palace just from having lower combat skills. So Unos being so late to the Thunder game, I don't really think that's going to hurt him too much, because he can make up that time just by being able to kill stuff a lot faster and making it through the palace. Oh, see, we're seeing Amazing Ampharos using the upstab technique on Barba. This is so great.
Yeah, upstab scares me. Like, I enjoy watching it, but it always makes me nervous when I try to fight Barba this way.
It's very easy to just headbutt Barba in the chin and take a bunch of damage. Like,
yes.
It's one of the more dangerous ways to do it. Probably the second most dangerous compared to the jackhammer.
I think AA always does it that way, though. So
he does. Yeah. He definitely does.
Yeah. So that's going to be his 3rd gem, and he's got 5 and 6 placed already. So, you know, maybe a little behind on the gem count, but the palaces he has cleared are what are considered the largest and easiest to get lost in. So that could work in his favor. Jake Hopper is still searching for that thunder spell. What town is he in right now? Is this Raru?
No. This is
Daburu. Yeah.
So here you have to go to the fountain and get some water to give it to the lady, and then she'll let you into the basement. And I don't know what the heck spell we get from Naburu.
It's fire. It's a fire spell.
So Fire Naburu, I don't know what it was paired with. I don't recall anyone else casting fire. I haven't seen fireballs yet, so it's probably not something important.
We got some great Guma action here on both Unos and Ryan's screen. Unos has a little bit of an attack advantage, but it's going to be a lot more aggressive. Well, actually, they're both being very aggressive, which is just really fun to see.
It looked like Ryan was trying to jackhammer through the belly of Guma and just went through him, which is very cool to see. Yeah, these guys are putting on a show. You can see every time that that flail hits one of our players, it just does a ton of damage.
Yep.
Oh, it might be shield. We're saying someone saw the tunic change color, so that might be what fire does. But yeah, this is another fight where people can get very creative in it. Wow, yeah, Unos is just going in.
And Larry's on Rebo, so this will be his 3rd gem as well. He's got everything but thunder. He's one of those people in the group that's got everything he needs but that thunder spell. There goes Guma for Unos. He was on his last life, so that was really clutch for him to finish that off.
Oh, looks like fire is the spell. So really not important at all. Oh, so this is always our favorite thing when there's one of these doom knockers like right at the top of the elevator, so you just have to take a hit of damage.
Oh, and Ryan unfortunately taking a game over on Guma. So
I was worried because those were some very aggressive strats to fight Guma. There's something very, very safe where you can push Guma off the screen. It takes about 5 minutes to do, but you won't take much damage. There's the very traditional kind of casual strats that most people learn, I think, when they're playing this game, where they kind of run up and crouch and hit Guma in the shins.
Mhm.
And then you get these just insane techniques where people try to jackhammer in the belly and they take game overs.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I mean, Ryan is a good player, but there's a calculation that people have to do right now of like using their highest level strats because they know it's a pressure situation and being a little risky. So very unfortunate that had to happen. Hopefully Guma wasn't too deep in this palace because he's got to go all the way back in.
Yeah, I think it's going to take him a little while. Meanwhile, I think Larry has beaten Rebanak. Is he going to look for the item? He does not have the Thunder Spell, so he might be worried that he needs a spell item to get it. And he's actually right about that. He's just unfortunately not correct about where that spell item is.
Yeah, this could be an item room that he's going into right now. It's not going to be what he wants. We know where the item he wants is. Larry is not someone who's going to go to Death Mountain unless he knows he has to. So he's kind of doing what the safe and accepted thing would be, which is to, you're going into a palace anyway. You're gonna try to clear out objectives. Beat palaces if you can. Try to run into the item because you're there anyway. He's been on record saying that if he's in a palace, he doesn't want to have to come back. If he knows where the item is, he's gonna try to pick it up.
And to be fair, Palace 3 is one of the shorter palaces. I think it's actually the second shortest after Palace 1. So that's
I would
not
absolutely look for the item in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not a lot of time there.
He's maybe not going to go looking for the item in 5 unless he knows he has to, but he's also come around on that because he just knows that. We're seeing the jackhammer. We're seeing every way to toast Barba in this race right now.
Yeah, we got a Guma refight on Ryan's side, so let's hope that works out a little better for him this time around.
Oh yeah, look, he's doing the safe strats. That's a little sad to see, like going from like the most high-end boutique strats to the most bootleg strats you can. Taking it super safe right now, but there's no way he's going through this palace again.
No.
Making sure of it.
I think Shiner took a little lava bath there during his Barba fight because he's fighting him over again.
Well, like I said, when you are doing the cutting edge techniques, it does get a little bit more risky. But everyone's playing their hardest. It's showing up. But you can see how much longer this fight is taking using the edge of the screen cheese. I was doing this for the past month or so, and I've just given it up because it takes way too long.
I think Ryan is actually the best person I've seen at these strats. He's got it figured out.
He's not taking more time than he has to, but it takes a lot of time.
It does.
It really does.
Yeah. Not as much time as it would be to game over again and have to walk all the way back.
Absolutely not. So, I mean, I completely understand. I'm not taking shots, but you can see the difference that it makes. And, oh my God, he might die anyway. Oh no, dude. Okay, good.
Yeah, he got it.
Cool. I'm really excited to see Angry Larry in this race. Larry has been one of the broadcasters of many of the matches in this tournament. He's got so much knowledge of the game. He's a really good player, strong player, so I'm pulling for everyone in here. Like, we don't have favorites, but Larry is a strong community member that I'm excited to see still alive in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe actually, I forget if he went 2-2, obviously, because he's here. I think he won his first match, dropped the next 2, and then won his last one to make it in. So, or maybe he went 0-2 and then won his last 2 to make it in. I can't remember.
Yunos has exactly no health left while he's fighting Barba, but using very just tried and true methods to take care of Barba, probably gonna have no trouble there. And
Link Sevens, as an update, has got 5 of the palaces cleared, so I think he is definitely in the lead.
This man.
Yeah, he is flying right now. Rose City Saint is at 4 out of 6, which is the same as Yunos. Unfortunately for Rose City Saint, he does not have 4 or 5 done, whereas Yunos just has 2 and 3 left to complete, which are comparatively shorter palaces. So
They are shorter. I mean, you never know, because like the way that the randomizer can place enemies, like, you know, palaces could be bigger, but just not quite as difficult. You could get some really nasty screens, kind of like this one, where you're just getting sandwiched on Larry's screen between a Doom Knocker and a blue Iron Knuckle. So it doesn't tell the full story, but yes, those palaces are bigger, and they will almost definitely take longer. But
Alrighty.
Unos is he's in 3 or 6. I'm not sure.
That's
but
definitely 3. Yeah. And Jay Coper looks like just placed the gem for 5. So all he's got left is Palace 4, and Riku also finishing up Palace 5 here as well.
Well, I mean, not really. He just died to Guma, but he has lives.
Yeah.
It looks like Guma was finishing off his palace.
Amazing Ampharos also in contention. Just placed the gem. Is that 2? I want to say. I believe that's Palace 2.
Yeah. Oh, but Jay Coper, dude, does not have the Thunder spell. So, I mean, very far along, but like very far away.
Yeah. Is he item hunting?
I mean, I would be. I mean, that's the problem, is that, you know, as you get further and further along in the seed, there's fewer and fewer places to find the items you're looking for, and you're probably going to start digging stuff out of any palace that you happen to be in.
Palace 5, though? Like, oof.
Yeah, that's a big one, but I mean, he's taking left turns. That's how we know. We talked about it earlier.
It's true. I mean, that's what he's doing. I don't doubt that.
But he beat Guma, right?
He did. He's placed the gem. He's cleared the palace. He is definitely looking for this item right now.
No. Now I think about it, like if I got kicked out of the palace, you know, if I was done, I don't know if I would go back in, especially if I had the hammer. There's 2 items. There's 2 items on Death Mountain, and you got the boots. It's probably faster than taking a long, dangerous trek through Palace 5.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's hindsight, or having, you know, 8 windows open can tell you a lot more about the seed than these players know at the moment. So you just have to make the best decision you can. And it's hard to say it's a bad one, because it could be the right. Oh, here it is.
Well, yeah.
Never mind.
Well, Jay Coper, when you go back and watch the VOD, let's just say we're sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry we doubted you, buddy. I mean, we knew it was the wrong item, but you know.
Yeah. That item wasn't too deep in there, but these are the kinds of things that players are thinking, and you could be thinking if you're playing the randomizer. You know, every time you're deciding where to go next, you're running the numbers in your head. Like, is this place going to have a high percentage chance of having the item that I'm looking for right now? Am I done looking for items, and I should really just be clearing palaces and only go looking for stuff if I'm told that I absolutely have to?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing to play. So, like, not only are you getting the new experience of playing levels that you've never played before, if you really enjoy just playing Zelda 2, you also get this interesting puzzle that changes all the time. And there's not necessarily a right answer to. Well, I mean, there is that once you're done and you know where everything is, but like...
I think that's not just true of this randomizer, but randomizers in general. To be good at a randomizer, it's knowing how to find things efficiently. You're not necessarily going to find the right things efficiently. You're just going to find things efficiently, and you have to hope that they're the right things.
Yeah, you want the least amount of time investment for the most number of things that you could possibly pick up. I just hope that's the stuff that you want. Because there used to be a little bit more limits. Like in the earlier versions of the randomizers, we knew that we could only find either the medicine or the child on either continent. That gave us a lot more information, and that could really help you know where you might want to go. Everything's a lot more open now, since everything could be anywhere. It's all by the numbers at this point.
Yep. Yeah, you really just need to be aware of what your surroundings are and figure out, you know, where are the fastest things for me to get next. Unless you got everything, and then it's just like go.
I do see people asking for the top players to be on the screen. We are on our last transition of just showcasing players, after which we will be going to the people who are actually in the process of finishing the race. So please enjoy some of these players who haven't had quite as much screen time. We're giving everyone a chance before we go into the final stretch.
Yep, And so it looks like that final stretch is probably going to be Link 7's Rose City Saint. And then, man, that fourth slot is kind of up for grabs, isn't it?
Could really be anyone. I mean, Raikou Rider is the only other person who has all the items, but has very few palaces at this point. It's more likely, I would say, that a player of the caliber of Jay Coper, AA, or Angry Larry, who has a whole bunch of palaces and just need to find that thunder spell.
Yeah. Well, and it's so hard to judge, honestly. It is really hard to judge if that's actually the case or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to declare a winner until this thing's actually done. You know, if they were playing the vanilla game, we would know exactly where everyone is, how long it takes, how much supplies they have, how much magic they're going to spend. There is no way of knowing what kind of great palace these guys are going to find.
Yeah.
Is it too early to talk about Great Palace? Like, should we kind of give a preview of what Great Palace is going to look like compared to vanilla?
I mean, we're getting pretty close. These top runners are going to be entering Great Palace any moment now, so sure.
Take it away, Dick Shake.
Well, so Great Palace, I mean, we've seen other palaces, and it's set up the same way. All the rooms are shuffled around, but the important thing to remember is to get to Thunderbird and Dark Link, you have to go to the right. So you'll see people trying to go right as much as possible, but they're also going to be looking for these drop rooms, and those rooms are important because they only go in one direction. You can go down them, but you can't go back up. Here we go. Actually, we're transitioning to what looks to be the top 4 contenders here. Unos is in 2. Link 7's must be in Palace 5. Rose City Saint is in 4, and Jay Coper is also in 4. So everybody trying to finish up that last palace, all but Jay Coper, have everything they need to beat the game. So this is as good as it gets, really.
Yeah, we're hitting the home stretch, and we're gonna. And reminder, only 4 players are getting out of this. That's what's so important about figuring out like who the 4 finalists are. It's like those are the people who are going on in the tournament.
We see actually Cool in the Gank just found his last required item, so he is now going to be starting to clear out these palaces. He's already got 3 done.
Yeah, and palaces could go faster than Death Mountain, although I don't think people took too long in Death Mountain finding I believe it was the medicine is the key item that they need. It wasn't the most difficult thing in the world, although it was underneath the, Unos is going into Great Palace. That barrier lifts up only if you have placed all of your gems, which means that you have beaten all of the prior palaces. Get ready for a wild ride through here. This is a humongous palace. And as Dick Shake said, the way to find either Dark Link or Thunderbird, you have to find Thunderbird first in these particular flags, is to leave a screen heading towards the right. And so you're going to be trying to take all the right turns you can. If you can't take a right, you're probably going to go up or down to try to find a right turn. And you'll be doing that as much as you can until you're forced to go left, only if you have to. As Dig Shake said, the drops can take you basically anywhere in the palace. They only dump out in specific kinds of rooms, but it has to give you access either to Thunderbird, take you towards the end of the game, or sorry, Dark Link, or take you to a place where you could get out of the palace by leaving through the front door. So it could move you forward or back. You don't know until you start taking drops. People who are very, very good at mapping Great Palace can actually have more information by having seen the rooms that you could fall into, and kind of by counting rooms determine whether it's likely if they're going to go forward or back. There's a drop.
Yeah. And Link 7's and Rose City Saint both finished up Palace 5 and 4 respectively. So as soon as they get their levels in order, which as you can see does take a minute because there's a lot of experience. They're also going to be heading into Great Palace, and they're only going to be maybe 2 minutes behind Unos.
Yeah, you can see Unos there. He was using the glove and downstab to get through that room, which would have been the only way to get through that room, which is why those items are considered required for the game. This is a shortened Great Palace, which means that some of the rooms have been removed. Dig Shake will talk about that in a moment, but you're very likely to run into a room that's going to require you to have the glove or downstab.
Yeah, so the way it takes the rooms out is that any room that has exactly 2 exits can be removed, potentially. So it randomly chooses how many rooms it wants, and then we'll randomly start taking away those rooms until it hits that number. And the way it does, the reason it does it that way is to try and increase, the number of branches, the number of decisions, or at least keep it stable, not remove any of those decision points in the Great Palace.
Oh, is this what we call a fun room? Is that? I always forget which one's the fun room. That
On Link 7 screens, yeah.
So it's a room with a bunch of lava and a bunch of projectiles, and sarcastically called fun because it's the worst kind of room that you could possibly find. Whenever I see a room like that, I just cast Fairy because, like, why mess around? It's going to knock you into the lava. There's no way out of it.
Oh, and here's Thunderbird on Unos' side.
Oh, good lord. This could be a... Well, we don't know, because we don't know how far away Link, or Dark Link, is from a Thunderbird. We know that Dark Link can't be down any branches that we've seen prior to Thunderbird.
Mm-hmm. And Unos did have about a 2-minute head start. It wasn't quite 2 minutes, but he did have a pretty big head start on these 2 guys. So, barring a game over, he is pretty safely in the lead here, but anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't one of the top 4, though. I think that really what we're going to be seeing is a race for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. In particular, 4th, because we have 2 other people in Great Palace. It's going to be a little bit of a scrim. Oh, geez. Okay, well, that's it.
There it is.
So very, very short Great Palace, which kind of sucks for some of the players who are going to be getting in here a little bit later. What you're really hoping for when you arrive behind your opponents is that Great Palace is going to be humongous and trolly and difficult, and you'll have some way of making an against the accepted meta decision that will somehow give you a shortcut that your opponent didn't have. Looks like that is not the case, because Unos is finishing in about a $1.09.
Yep.
And he is now in the final bracket.
Yeah, he's gonna move on. And meanwhile, Jay Coper actually went to Death Mountain. Yeah, there's the medicine. So it's gonna come down to, it looks like him and Amazing Ampharos are the only other runners that have cleared all 6 palaces. So I'm sure we'll try and get Amazing Ampharos up here on the screen as soon as we can. But meanwhile, we can watch the race for 2nd place here between Link 7s and Rose City Saint.
Yeah, the result would be the same, regardless of like which one of them comes in 2nd or 3rd. The top 4 players are getting into the bracket, so you're still good. Oftentimes, if someone comes in and gets a 1st place, you sort of start feeling bad about your game, but like they're still fighting for spots, so like they cannot take the foot off the gas whatsoever.
Yeah, so Link 7s is clearly going to be done here momentarily. Although he's having takes a death on Thunderbird, and Rose City Saint, I believe, is actually not far behind. So this is going to be a pretty close race for 3rd. As we bring Amazing Ampharos, who actually is in Great Palace, which seems to mean that he actually has picked up that Thunder spell. Ahead of Jay Coper, who has not been to Mito yet.
Yeah, it's not on our tracker, but I mean, I can't see why he would. Okay, looks like there it goes. Yeah, you would not be in here unless you had Thunder. And so you can see when Thunderbird comes out, its face is obscured by a mask, and you use the Thunder spell, which exposes the face, which is the vulnerable point of Thunderbird, which is why it is a required spell in the game.
And so Link 7s takes down Thunderbird, and looks like he is going to be in 2nd place, barring some major catastrophe during the Dark Link fight here.
Link can kill you, but he has plenty of health. He could take a bunch of hits. I don't think there's really any threat of that right now. Amazing Ampharos is determined to kill that Bird Knight, and did so. Usually people will try to just avoid that, maybe use the jump spell to get to the higher portions of the blocks there. He might not even have jump. I'm not sure because it's not on our tracker. One of the more dangerous things to do is to actually try to fight one of those guys toe-to-toe.
Yeah. There goes Link 7, so he'll be our 2nd runner in as RCS walks into Thunderbird's room.
Yeah, congratulations, Link. And I mean, I hope no one was sleeping on Rose City Saint, because Rose City Saint is about to earn a spot in the final bracket of this randomizer tournament.
Yeah, let's see what his life situation's like. He's on his last life, so he does need to be pretty cautious here.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you fight Thunderbird, Thunderbird can kill you. I mean, that's just the way it is. Thunderbird does a ton of damage. I saw Rose City Saint even grabbing the Fairy of Reason earlier. So if this is someone who does play fairly safe strats, I hope he is keeping that in mind during this, because, dude, you only got one more screen to go after this. So, you're
Well,
in.
he doesn't know that, but
No,
yeah.
you don't know that. You know what I do sometimes is, like, after I kill Thunderbird, if it's kind of early, I'll go ahead and up A and get my lives back, which would be super stupid right now considering how close Link is.
Didn't even get touched in that Thunderbird fight though, so he's
What was going on before?
looking pretty
That's
safe
what you
here.
do. Yeah.
He's going to be very happy to see Dark Link in this next room on his last life.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
And so
Congratulations.
basically down to AA and Jay Coper for this last spot here. Looks like AA is in the room right before Thunderbird, if I'm remembering correctly. So
Yeah, and someone could show up to Thunderbird a lot earlier and just take a death, because that's a fight that is never not dangerous. It's always a dangerous fight. And it looks like people are taking quite a lot of damage to this stupid blue Bird Knight, which I think is how people are ending up with so few lives at Thunderbird.
yeah,
But if someone goes in there earlier, takes a death, the other person could come right in behind and not take a death, and there you go. There's your lead change. So nothing is for sure, although AA is actually a fight.
so Jay Coper, I don't know what happened. This seems un-Jay Coper-like of him, but his levels are lower than what I'm used to seeing on a Jay Coper
life
screen.
5. My goodness. That'll get you about 2 hits on Thunderbird.
He does have all 8 hearts, which helps, but it's not going to help him catch up to AA here, especially his attack level's also a little bit lower. He needs AA to game over, which AA is taking a few bops here. Needs to be careful.
That's a sure thing. I mean, even if Thunderbird didn't do tons of damage, that could be a game over. Now, Darklink could definitely take that sliver of health from him, and if he ain't got no lives in reserve, that's big trouble. I find it hard to believe that he doesn't have another life, because Thunderbird was not very deep in this palace.
He does have 1 life left. He just
yeah. Well, that's bad news for Jay Coper, who's also grabbing the very responsible fairy.
But great news for AA. It looks like he's going to be the 4th and final person moving on in this randomizer tournament. Yeah,
and so there's still a lot of pride on the line. People are gonna do their best to complete this race, especially it being a high profile stream on the Speedruns live page, which we're very grateful for. But their tournament is now over. Anyone whose name isn't Amazing Ampharos, Unos, Link Sevens, or Rose City Saint, very sorry to say you're out.
Yep. So there we have it, our 4 runners.
What a show.
What do you think, Joshy D? Are you excited to face one of these guys in the next round?
Nope. I mean, I feel I am 3-1 currently in the tournament, and I think that it was besides running into the top-ranked Zelda 2 randomizer player who also happened to make the thing Dig Shake, that was my only loss in the Swiss phase. But I got matched up against it in the way it should be in the Swiss phase, players who were at equal skill, and they were fair fights. And I think that because of just some fortunate matchups and some lucky play, made it into the next phase of the tournament. But these are strong players, and the way that they took down this seed does not make me feel super confident moving forward. And the flags will be much more difficult in the next phase of the tournament. They will no longer have the candle at the beginning, which made it possible to see what's going on in these caves, and the enemies will be randomized in a more dangerous way. So a lot more randomizer to come, and a lot more variety in the kinds of combat situations people are going to be getting into.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. As we see Jay Coper taking down Thunderbird, looks like he's going to be the next one to finish. But unfortunately for him, just 1 spot behind where he needed to be, as Cool and the Gank's going to enter in Great Palace as well. Also, I mean, both of these runners putting up great runs.
Yeah, this is good times. Like everyone who is currently in Great Palace is putting up a pretty good time, and everyone is obviously fighting very hard and doing a great job at this seed. But it's nice to see like a great number of the players are all finishing in a fairly similar time. That means that there is a lot of people who are playing at a high level, playing at a similarly high level, and putting on a really good show. And you can see like Angry Larry's still in. He has like most of his gems placed. It looks like almost all the players have a whole lot of stuff already accomplished, and they'll be making their way to the end game before too long.
Yeah, and we'll stick around and wait for these guys to finish out. We did have a few people. Looks like they've forfeit once they saw that they weren't going to be one of the 4 coming in, but we'll stick around with whoever's left until everybody's finished.
It's a little bit late on the East Coast, so I can see why people maybe, like, if they're feeling like they're not going to be completing the seed very quickly, they might want to get out. But I mean, you're going to have to pry this microphone out of my dead hands. I'm not leaving it until this thing's over.
This is not actually at a Genos that we're looking at right now. I'm not sure who it is.
Yeah, it's zoomed in quite a lot. I was not going to call attention to that blip on the screen and this production problem that seems to be happening. What palace is this that Raikou is in right now? I don't know where he is.
That's Palace 4, I believe. No, that's Palace 6. I'm sorry, because there's there's Revenant.
So we have seen in this tournament a whole lot people fighting Rebenak without the downstab technique, which is something that many people who have only played this game vanilla, or I don't know, just don't want to. It's not obvious that you can defeat Rebenak without downstab, but people have been using these crouching jump stabs to knock Rebenak off of his horse and then fight him in honorable single combat. But most people are going to be trying to use this technique that we see Raikou doing, which is to try to lure Rebenak into the corner and just bounce on his head a whole bunch until he dies. But it's been cool to see people, like, just seeing so many more players playing the randomizer and so many more players playing on these restreams that we've been having because of the tournament. A lot of us are getting to see and share different strategies and techniques, especially when it comes to combat. Who was it the other night? Simple Dude, who did that crazy like wall stab bounce climb, like it was like a wall climb with a wall stab.
I think that was Simple Dude, yeah.
Oh my god! So like we're all learning stuff. Like it's an exciting time to be playing Zelda 2. Exciting time to be playing the randomizer, just because there's so many eyes on the streams and just so much more gameplay being shown.
Yep. Ryan7 here just found the medicine, so he's gonna grab the Thunder Spell, as it looks like Cool and the Gank's finishing up here, and we got Shiner up on screen now as well.
Yeah, Ryan's no quitter. He's going to finish this seed off. Cool and the Gank does not have the magic necessary to cast Thunder, ganked. So he's taking a death to Thunderbird to get his magic back. Very common thing to have happen. I mean, Thunder's a very expensive spell. It usually only goes down to well, its normal minimum cost is 64, I think, in the regular game. So I don't know how low.
But only at Magic 8 is
only at Magic 8.
Yeah. So, it doesn't actually start decrease. It's 120 for the whole game. Only starts decreasing, I believe, at Magic 7 when it goes down to 100, and then Magic 8 goes down to 64. So.
And because of the randomizer, it could go down by 50%.
Yep, sure could.
And usually the only other way you're going to get it cheaper than that is if it's connected with the fire spell. So it's very common for people to show up at Thunderbird and not be able to actually fight Thunderbird without taking a death because it's just so much magic.
Yeah.
64 magic is 4 magic containers, 80 is 5 magic containers. So it's hard to have that much in reserves when you're fighting for your life with all these blue bird knights. It's just so easy to take damage and need to cast life and shield and all these other spells to keep yourself safe.
So Cool and the Gank looks like he's going to be our next finisher here, and that's going to bring us down to, I believe, our final 4 racers. Ryan7 is also in Great Palace, so he should be finishing up here momentarily as well.
Oh no, Larry was one of our quits.
Yep.
Oh, Shame. Ah, I love Larry. I really wanted to see him finish this one out.
Yeah, he was doing well there for a while. I'm not sure what got him, what he got hung up on, but I'll chat with him about it later, I'm sure. Let's see how Shiner's doing. Shiner looks like he's got everything but that Thunder spell. He's got all the palaces cleared out. Just trying to finish up finding that last spell before he can head into Great Palace himself. And Raikou and Riku also have a couple palaces left to finish up before they'll be heading into Great Palace.
Yeah, I wish Raikou and Riku would have called each other and decided to not both enter into the same tournament, because it's driving me crazy. I don't know what the hell we're talking about. Like, there should be a limit to, like, you know, only one of them per tournament.
Yeah. Well, here's Raikou on Barba. It looks like the other palace that he needs to finish up is Palace 4, which is the one that's in the Valley of Death. And we see Riku walking away from. I assume he finished up that palace since he is exiting the Valley of Death. Yeah, there it goes. So
Raikou Rider is showing off some Barba fighting techniques that I identify with, which is just jumping all around, basically, you know, just avoiding the fire at all costs. Again, like that boss really showcases the creativity of players and how they decide to fight that boss.
Yeah. Oh, and here's Shiner picking up the Thunder spell, so he's going to be ready to go.
Nice.
He's going to be heading into GP himself. Ryan is like 2 rooms away from Thunderbird, so I'm not sure what his life situation is like, but
there is a ferry along the way, so that's pretty good. You know, it's kind of disappointing that this Great Palace was so brief, because I feel like it's almost been the least interesting part of the race so far, whereas it ordinarily is a major tipping point in people's success or failure in the seed. But it looks like it's normal exploration, very quick palace, and hasn't been offering any opportunities for people to gain or lose much time.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't really know what you're going to get until you make the seed. I did not pre-select the seed or do any kind of filtering. I just picked a number and let it do its thing, and sometimes short GP happens. Most of the time, runners are pretty happy to see a non-trolly Great Palace, but
the runners are, but like, we've got an exciting broadcast to bring people in. Like, there's not many twists and turns in this palace.
Yeah,
there's not even an item for people to decide to go get or not. Like, this has really just been like a fight with a Bird Knight and Thunderbird and a fairy. The only thing I've seen.
Looks like Raikou, what is he picking up here? Upstab, so he's in Darunia. He does have everything he needs, but Upstab is actually pretty convenient. I enjoy having Upstab if I take the time to grab it.
Yeah, Upstab, there's a lot of places where it can be useful. I think forest encounters are a big place. You can see a Riku player almost hitting something with his Upstab. It can also really help in swamps where there's a lot of flying enemies coming around. You can kind of keep them from bouncing off your head. It can help with some of these, as they call waffle rooms, the rooms that have a lattice-like structure of breakable blocks. It can be very useful getting through those. There's one room where I think it either seems like you need Upstab in Great Palace, or you may actually need it. But it's handy. If I didn't have to go into Darunia to cash in a spell, I don't think I would go in there just to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel as well, actually.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting it if I'm in there anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. There's Ryan 7 finishing up, so we're down to our final 3 runners here. We got Shiner, who is in Great Palace, Raikou, who is... You know, I'm honestly not sure what Raikou's doing right now. Is he on the Eastern Continent? He's probably looking for Thunder. And then we got Riku... Or no, Raikou's not looking for Thunder. Raikou's already got Thunder. He's looking for Palace 4. Riku does not have Thunder. And he is also... No. Oh my gosh. I am getting them all kinds of backwards, but...
So Shiner right now is in Great Palace. picking up a magic container or
Yeah.
a magic jar, making King Doll proud. So there are a great many magic jars hidden all throughout these palaces, and almost nobody knows where any of them are.
Yeah.
And it's even worse because the rooms are shuffled around. There's a lot of rooms that you can find magic jars in that look similar to other rooms, and so you feel really stupid when you go slashing at a statue that you think has a jar and it doesn't. But if you do know where they are, every one of those jars is you could consider to be 1 or 2 extra lives because of how many times you can cast the life spell if you pick up a jar, or
sure.
not having to suicide on Thunderbird. There's it's a great advantage that King Doll, one of the great Zelda 2 randomizer players, has taught us. Is just to learn where the jars are. So it was nice to see Riku pick up one of those. No, Shiner did. Damn it.
Yeah, Shiner did, and he's on T-Bird now, so he'll be probably wrapping this one up here pretty shortly. I believe that Riku is pretty close to Barba, which is his last boss, but he also needs to find the fire spell, or I'm sorry, the thunder spell.
Shiner, though, is doing a very dangerous technique of dancing within the bullets and not really getting a pendulum going, and T-Bizzle is just doing a lot of damage, but luckily he makes it out. It was looking a little hairy there. A lot of players decide to try to lure T-Bird to one side of the screen or the other so that T-Bird will swoop down low right over that dais in the middle of the screen, and then they can jump on that and hit T-Bird in the face. Bentglasstube says that Shiner just does not believe in that technique and likes to do the fire dance, where you just kind of dodge right underneath T-Bird, and it worked out. But it was looking kind of scary because he came out of that fight with only 1 box of health left.
Yeah. Well, there goes Shiner. So we're down to our final 2, Riku player and Raikou rider. Riku did beat Barba, place his final gem. So he's just looking for that thunder spell. Raikou is in Palace 4, which is the last thing he needs to do.
Yeah, and that's a genuine race because, either of those 2 objectives could take a long time. Because we don't really know how it's going to happen. We do know that it's unlikely that Great Palace is going to be a decider in a way that ordinarily would be. Oh, but Riku, I guess, never went into Death Mountain before. It is going into the Hammer Cave, which doesn't have the thing that you need.
No, but it's a pretty good sign for him because the rock is nearby, and he'll probably look for that after this. We'll find out.
Yeah, it's not a bad decision for going in here, but we know that this is a long cave and it's not going to have what he needs, and he's going to have to either up A to get out or walk all the way back out of this cave, which takes a long time.
Yeah.
And the thing that he actually needs is underneath a boulder, which you just have to crush with the hammer and then fall into. So that's what's making me worried for his not coming in last situation.
Yeah.
Is this heart container? It's like, now what do you do? Okay, yes, that's the right decision to up A out of there, because it's probably faster to just walk back to Death Mountain and look for that boulder.
If that's what he decides to do, he might try to go into a palace or something else instead. I don't know.
Nope. Right back into. Oh, okay, Death Mountain was right next to the start, so we're pretty good. Oh, we should have known that because everyone got that heart container instantly at the beginning of the race. I don't recall how long Palace 4 is, so it's hard to kind of speculate how long Raikou will take. Oh my God, they're the finishers. This is gonna be a real mess until the end. Raikou, I don't know how long it's going to take him to get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, someone in chat is saying great work, Neerrm. We really do have to give a big thanks to Neerrm for setting up this restream and doing all the work of putting together this wonderful overlay, and all the people who have been our spotters, the people behind the scenes, giving us all the information, updating the trackers, giving us the tools we need to hopefully have been a success and an entertaining stream for you. So thank you to the whole Zelda 2 randomizer community and Neerrm for running the stream. I hope everyone's clapping. So do we still have Dig Shake in the call? Okay, so we do have people clapping, so I'm guessing they're hearing me, but I can't hear Dig Shake, so that was making me feel... Okay, sorry about that. So we have Raikou player. He is in the town of Mido and is going here with the Water of Life to get his Thunder Spell right at the same time that Raikou is placing his gem in Palace 4. So this is a bona fide race we have right now to finish this one out, because it's... I don't remember... Oh, sorry, Great Palace is on Western Continent, so that's an up A away, and that is a quick walk from Start Palace, where Raikou is right now. So we're gonna see these two players finish very close to each other, and it looks like it's close enough that we could very well have a death at Thunderbird decide the final two positions of this race, because they're both in there within 10 seconds of each other, and that could be made up, or that amount of time could be won or lost on just a difficult waffle room with that blue bird knight. Yeah, and I agree with the chat. This right now is the real race, because it's been like everyone's been kind of coming in at sort of expected times compared to like when they entered. Right now, these two are probably as close as any two players have been so far in this race. So this is one of the waffle rooms, as Angry Larry calls it. Some people call it a lattice room. There's a lot of different names for it. It's called a chicken and waffle room sometimes if there is one of these bird creatures that spits fire. So depending on the enemies in the room, and it could be called various things, but it's very notable because there's several of these in Great Palace, and they're all pretty difficult. We see Raikou using the wonderful strats of cutting down some blocks to be able to safely kill that bird knight. The bird knights in traditional Zelda 2 all keys racing, the bird knight in that room is known as Scott Beakula. It has a name because it is such an important enemy to know, and it costs so many people their runs. A very dangerous situation dealing with Scott Beakula. Oh, here's one of the spicy chickens. Yeah, so this guy, that can do just tons of damage. It's extra dangerous because the fire, even if you aren't getting hit with it on the way out, it crawls back around, crawls back along the floor and will hit you in your heels. So you're never quite safe when you're dealing with one of those. And please, Raikou, grab the fairy. Considering the fairy, not taking the fairy, going back for the fairy. I will always grab this fairy if I have basically any health missing. I think that it's just foolish to walk by and not take it, because you could have a room like this with a giant king bot and another one of those bird knights, and it'll just kill you. So I respect taking the time to grab the fairy. Raikou going over that spicy chicken, no problem. And Raikou deciding to actually try to fight this red bird knight. This not a recommended strategy. Not really necessary to pick on that bird knight. Took a lot of damage for it. Sometimes in a room, if you know you're gonna have to spend a little bit of time in there, it's better to kill the enemies, and it'll make it easier. And you'll take less damage overall. But a lot of times with those bird knights, you just kind of, if you can get past them, you just keep on running. No reason to spend more time. And we are in the same room. This is the true race right now. Raikou taking a death. This might actually be good, because Raikou is down a little bit on life. And so if Raikou ends up dying to T-Bird, Raikou has a good chance of ending up in the T-Bird room with full health. That didn't happen because of that bird knight, but it's going to be a bit tougher for him to catch up now. I guess it's going to be probably come down to a matter of who takes more damage in Thunderbird, and then maybe someone will get killed by Dark Link.
Was having Discord problems.
Yeah, welcome back, Dig Shake. Oh my God, Raikou. Oh. So
Got
taking it.
here just the right time, it looks like.
Yeah, we have 2 people on Thunderbird right now, and Riku is looking pretty healthy right now. Looks like he probably cast Reflect because I saw one of those fireballs bounce off his shield. Although having a pretty slow fight, if Raikou goes with some very aggressive strats, could make up this lead again because even with a death, Raikou is going to finish T-Bird at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And they both have tons of health. So this comes down exactly to how horrible Dark Link decides to be. This is the finish that we were looking for right now. We just need to give one of these two one of those first 4 spots. So AA is out of the tournament, and we're putting in Riku or Raikou because they've had this fantastic finish right now.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah, this is what we wanted. So the only way to really fight Dark Link in a sensible way is to walk into the corner and just crouch stab. End up staying very safe. Some people like to go toe-to-toe with Dark Link. It's pretty dangerous. I think Raikou's got it.
Yeah, he's got it.
On Twitch lag, but I think everyone was synced up properly, and Riku got sniped for that last position. Well done, everyone. Good race.
Yeah, that was really great.
That was awesome.
Real quick, before we wrap things up here, I would just like to announce that we will be doing the bracket reveal tomorrow, is my plan. And most likely it'll be on my stream, although I might see if I can grab Randomizer Mania or one of the other big streams to do that bracket reveal for the next round. But we know who the 16 players are, so we're going to reveal the bracket tomorrow evening. We'll start at the same time that we started tonight. Start at around 10 o'clock. Cool. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock my time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. I apologize. I am on Central time. So 11 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, we will do the bracket reveal, and I hope to see you all there.
And that's Dig Shake talking, DIGSHAKE, if you're looking for the stream. I am Joshy D. Thanks so much for having me here to do commentary. This was a really fun race to hang out with everyone. I hope everyone had a great time because I certainly did.
Couldn't have done it without Joshy D.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's true though.
Okay, so yeah, well, I very much appreciate it. So yeah, check out that link. It's in the chat right now, twitch.tv/digshake. That's where the bracket reveal will be tomorrow, unless things change. Thank you so much to Neerrm. Thank you so much to Speedruns Live for having us. What a great night of Zelda 2 Randomizer.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, and good one.
All right, have a good night.